Hey, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Get Inspired and Live in Your Power. And have another awesome guest, Elise Smith. Thank you, Elise, for being here.
My pleasure. Absolutely.
I am really excited to have gotten to know Elise a little bit better. I've actually seen her on Facebook. I followed her a little bit, kind of been in her group. And if you check the show notes, we're going to have some information on how to get to her Facebook group or all the other ways that you can get in touch with Elise. It's really been fun to kind of hang out with her, maybe even without her knowing that I was hanging out, because I feel like we are just cut from the same cloth. I feel like we have a very similar message and just super grateful. I'm actually even getting emotional just thinking about it, at least, because I think that it's so important for those of us who really feel called to bring God into our daily lives and our work and business and everything. I just feel like it's so important for us to really speak up, because so many people through either social or even church, sometimes, the conditioning that we get, what we learn as children and growing up, and even as young adults, stepping into business, it really is important to believe what God says and what Christ has said in the scriptures, that, we should be praying over everything, our business. We should, include him in every little thing. And I know, you've shared some things with me, and I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to introduce you, and we'll definitely get to some of those stories that has kind of caused that emotion for me this morning. So thank you, Elise, for being here. I appreciate you all as listeners being here. And yeah, you're in for a treat today, getting to know Elise. All right. I am going to go ahead and introduce Elise. Elise Smith is a Christian business strategist and a speaker who empowers faith-filled women entrepreneurs to reach their sales goals by partnering with God, empowering their mindset, and teaching them to implement biblical business strategy. She has been coaching for over 14 years and loves to see her clients reach their goals and answer their calling by helping them to lay a strong foundation in their business and gain closer relationship with God to build their business in the Lord's way as opposed to the world's way. And those of you who have followed me, those are very familiar words to me too. So I just feel so blessed to have you on the show today, Elise. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. My pleasure. I know as I've gotten to know you too, I'm like, oh my heavens, we are so sisters.
We totally are. I am really excited to hear about your story and have our listeners hear about your story. I know that you've had a couple of pivotal moments in your life, and I think it just would be appropriate for us to just kind of jump in and talk a little bit about some of those pivotal moments. And one especially that you mentioned to me was when you were working in a network marketing company. And I have a history in that too. I did Mary Kay for 20 years and it was awesome. And one of the things I love about network marketing is it's a great place for personal development, right?
Okay.
And it's a really great place to kind of uncover your blind spots and, really figure out what you want in life. And I know you had one of those pivotal moments during a presentation that was happening. I'm just going to turn it over to you and let you share about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that we can all relate to being in something that like pushes you out of your comfort zone, right? I know for me, I've been an entrepreneur since I was like a kid with a lemonade stand, but that doesn't mean that it's always come super easy for me. When we were in that network marketing company several years ago, which was all around travel, super fun, but holy cow, we poured our heart and souls into that company and just did not go anywhere. It was so hard. And so one day, my husband and I, we went to this convention in a different state, which was super fun. You've got 12,000 people there, and the energy is really super exciting. What they do is they teach through a process called edutainment. So it's education with entertainment, which is super awesome. And this guy basically acts out, the lead trainer, he acts out skits to be able to help you see how to really put it into your business. And it's powerful. And so Mark, he's on the stage, and he had just shown his best friend his network marketing pitch, and his friend just tore him down. And, he doesn't want to take it personally. And so he turns on the TV, and guess who he sees on the TV? Himself. Right. And he is telling himself all of these terrible things. You're a failure. Why did you get started with this? You can't do anything right. And this person thinks that you're just spammy or sleazy or salesy or whatever. And it really just hits him to the core. And everywhere that he turns, his reflection in the mirror and his reflection on a screen everywhere is just telling these terrible things about himself that we all say in our mind, but don't want to admit to other people. And in that moment, oh my heavens, we were, my husband, he was looking around, everyone was laughing, having fun, because apparently it was funny, but it was not funny to me. He looks over at me and I am ugly crying. Like, I am just bawling. And the reason why I am is because I'd never heard anyone say out loud what I say to myself in my head, where I think no one else can hear. And that hurt. Oh, it hurt so bad, because we have outer dream stealers, just like Mark's friend, who don't believe in what we're doing. And, they come from a loving place most of the time, but they just don't get it. And that's okay. We just have to let them think their way and we think our way. But our inner dream stealer, ouch, that one hurts, because we feel like that's ourselves. But I will tell you right now, and especially, and I love the fact that we can talk about God and the adversary and Satan, that kind of thing. The fact of the matter is, your inner dream stealer is not you. Your inner dream stealer is Satan. And he knows your worth, he knows your potential, and he knows what you're doing to build up the kingdom of God through your business. So of course, he's going to try to get you to believe that you are not good enough. If he can get you at your worth and who you are as a core of a person, then he's got you. And he does take away your dreams. But in that moment, with tears streaming down my face and mascara everywhere, I made a promise to God that I refuse to let my inner dream stealer steal my dreams from that point forward.
That's amazing. I have been there, and I know our listeners can probably all pinpoint a moment where they realized what they were saying to themselves. I mean, that literally, it completely steals your power, doesn't it? Because like you said, when you have other people outside and that's coming, from some other source, you can kind of put a thick skin on, and you can be like, oh yeah, that's their issue, that's their problem, and I'm just going to keep going. But when you realize that that's coming from inside yourself, it really is like all encompassing, terrible, horrible. I love what you're saying, that that's not the real you, that's not you inside. That's a dark force that is trying to keep you small. One of the things that I wanted to bring out, because like I said, I do have a history in direct sales also. One of the things that I discovered when I was in that network marketing company was that I was seeking for something where I could really pour my passion into it. It's like you said, you pour your heart and soul into this because you have a belief and a testimony almost of, what it is that you're representing, whether it's a product or service or whatever. And I found that that's pretty true for most people that get involved in some sort of a direct sales kind of a thing. And it's not it's not necessarily like you're really passionate about the product, but there's something inside of us that just needs to have a way to express our passion. Direct sales is a really great way to do that. I recommend it to everyone. I think everybody should have a history in that, because there's so much that you can learn. And I also discovered, and I don't know if this was true for you, I'm just going to share it and see if this was true for you as well, that it was almost like a counterfeit way that I really had to step away from that and create something of my own with God to truly be able to authentically express my passion and to really be able to have the freedom to serve people and change people's lives in the way that was really best for me. Do you want to share what your thoughts are on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting that you bring that up because I feel like our paths are in so many different ways, right? Like my husband always laughs. He says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans for the future. Sometimes
Oh,
we,
that's true.
yeah, exactly. Sometimes we think we're going to go a certain way, and really we're going on that goal just to get on the road to be able to see the next road. And so I've been on both sides. I've been on the network marketing side and then feeling like I need to break out and do my own thing. And then even coming back to combining the two of doing my own thing and network marketing at the same time. And so it's just so fascinating that when we are asking God and we're partnering with God in our business and our lives and everything that we're doing, He will show us the paths to be able to take. And it's really up to that moment in time where God is calling us to go. And so, yeah, I've been on both sides for sure. And I definitely feel that way as well.
Awesome. As you're talking, I feel like our paths have really been kind of coinciding because after I left that network marketing, I actually went back to work in a corporation. And I had several different, I think 4 different jobs or something, during that time before I actually stepped into, my real power of mentoring and authoring and all the things that I do. But I really feel like every single step of that, like you were talking about, God's really guiding our steps, that there was some experience that had to happen for me to be developed, for me to be refined. I draw upon those experiences constantly. And I can look back and I see that every tiny step of that, there was never a time when I'm like, oh, I spent 20 years in network marketing. I should have gotten out sooner, or I should never have gone back to work, in corporate America or whatever. It's always like, oh my gosh, I learned so much in that. And I'm so grateful that I had that experience. And then it was perfect time for me to step away and to do this. And then, of course, it was time to do something else. So tell us about your experience with that.
Yeah, definitely. And isn't it such a tender mercy of the Lord that He gives us these stepping stones, right? If He was to say, like, I want you to open up your own mentoring business and, or join this network marketing company over here and you're going to do amazing things with it. If He didn't prepare us with these little steps that we've been able to learn from, then that huge leap would be really difficult for us to take. And I've seen that with my own life, my own journey. So I started coaching in the corporate world that 14 years ago, just like you were talking about in my bio. And I loved it. I thought it was super awesome. I helped over 100 people achieve their sales goals. But I wanted something more. I got frustrated that I couldn't bring God into the corporate workplace because that's a big no-no. So I'd dance on the line of that with bringing in like the law of attraction or something like that. But I knew that I could get them so much better results if I could bring God into it, because that's how I've been able to gain the success that I've been able to. And so I was sitting in church one day, and I listened to this woman who basically said something to the effect of, you'll never see personal development and God in the same sentence. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I had to stop that for a minute and think about that. And so I asked her after church, I said, just curious, why did you say that? What makes you say that? And she said, well, because personal development is all about like my will and I can do it all on my own and all this kind of stuff. And, when you're partnering with God, that's relying on Him and using His strength and His power. And for her, the two didn't mix. Like, they were very much like oil and water, right? So I told my sweet hubby, I got in the car after church. I was really kind of annoyed. And I got in the car and I said, I want to change that. I want to change that in this industry because I know that she's not the only person who thinks that. And in fact, we do it without even realizing it. We leave God at the office door, as one of my clients say, and we don't realize it because we compartmentalize our lives and our businesses and everything that we're doing, where we have God in our spiritual life and maybe even in our personal life, but we totally forget to bring Him in through the office door. And so that was the moment that I realized like it needed to change, that the industry needed needs to change. It shouldn't be, church and state anymore. And we have the ability as entrepreneurs to be able to do that. And that gets me super excited. I asked God, I said, all right, here's my experiences. Here's, my knowledge. You already know who I am and who I love to serve. Because after my inner dream stealer experience, I started a blog. Had no idea what I was doing. So that was a fun little adventure. But I wanted to help women to not give up on their goals and dreams because of their inner dream stealer. And so I asked God, I said, okay, I want to work with women entrepreneurs. And at that time, I didn't even know it was Christian women entrepreneurs. I just said, I want to work with women entrepreneurs. I said, I know you have a blueprint for success, for reaching $10,000 months in their business, and for, being able to share the message that you have specifically for them. Teach that to me. That's what I asked, because I know in Matthew 7:7, it talks about how, ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. And so I'm trying God's word. And I said, I'm asking God. Well, you have to be careful with what you ask for, because a couple of days later, it was 3 a.m., that magical hour. And I woke up, and God basically took my whole experience of working in a Fortune 500 company, and he showed me how I could create biblical business strategy of teaching women how to grow their businesses in the Lord's way by using Fortune 500 company principles through the lens of the Bible, so they get a closer relationship with God. And I'm in my bed, super comfy and warm in my blanket. And I was like, this is awesome, God. I will write it down when I get up. And I swear it was like, nuh-uh, you get your butt up out of bed right now. And you write this down. And I was obedient. I got out of my warm bed. And for the next 6 hours, it flowed from me. And that's where biblical business strategy really came from. And I'm so grateful for all those steps along the way to be able to get me to the point where it was like, I'd had enough. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew how I wanted to do it. I just didn't have the pieces that he wanted me to have. And so ask and you shall receive. And that's exactly where it came from.
I just want to really point out the steps that you took, because I know our listeners are going to be, I just want to make sure that they heard what you said. I know you have the blueprint for this. Teach it to me. It wasn't like, I wonder if, and then you go about your day. It's like, actually asking and believing and trusting and knowing that God created this abundant world. There has to be a blueprint. And I know God knows it. I just don't have it yet. I love that kind of faith and trust. Yeah, literally getting up and just typing for 6 hours. I remember the same thing happened with me with the Lord's Way to Wealth. And I'm just typing. And my husband was like, what are you doing? Because it was just like nonstop typing for hours. I said, I'm changing the world. And I literally, felt like the same as you. I want to change that. I want to change that perception that, for me, it was that your purpose and being wealthy could be in the same sentence. And for you, God and personal development could be in the same sentence, and having that biblical business strategy. I love that. That's so awesome. The other thing that I wanted to bring out is that you said that what you had received, you completely saw how Fortune 500 principles paralleled biblical principles. And I 100% believe that there is a Lord's way and there is a world's way, and you can get where you want to go on either path. But I feel like there's certain people who it is absolutely perfect for them to go the world's way. And then there's other people who it is more authentic, and you're going to be more successful if you go the Lord's way. There was something that you said, going back to when you were working in that network marketing company, that you worked and you put your heart and soul into it, and you worked really hard and you gained nothing. I had the same experience in my stint in that arena. I felt like I was doing everything right and I just wasn't making it. But there were people who were. And it's like, how does this mathematically does not add up, because I'm doing the right things and it's just not working out. And what I realized was that was not my end all. It was just a place for me, kind of a cocoon for me to be developed and refined. And then it was time for me to move on. And I look back on that experience. If I had been successful, if I had been making, 5, 6 figures a month, like some of the people in the company, I don't know if I would have been able to leave that to go off and do what I'm doing now. And so I'm really, really grateful. And it just helps me to understand that if you're really struggling and feeling like you're beating your head against the wall, it might be because you're pushing against the wrong wall. It could be because you're listening to that inner, those inner dream stealers like you're talking about, or you just don't have the right mindset, or, maybe you do need to change your practices or whatever. Could be that. But if you're doing everything right and it's just not working out, maybe you need to ask, is this the path for me? Do you have
And
any
that's
thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's absolutely hard. Yeah. Okay. I feel like I want to be really vulnerable for a second here. This is hard for me. I have had success in so many businesses, right? That network marketing company, oof, that was a flop for me, real big time. I think I made $50 for the 4 years that we put into it. It was really, really hard. But I love how you pointed out that it's about the learning and the growth along the way. That helped me become the person that I am now, without a doubt, for sure. And also the coach that I am now. I joke around with my audience and my clients that I feel like I made every single failure and, problem and thing that you can do wrong in business so that I can teach you not to do it. But it really does help us not only to grow and become the person God is asking us to become and who we want to become, but we can help other people because we've been there. We have that empathy. We know how it feels. I'm experiencing something kind of like this right now. I've had successful $10,000 plus months in my business. And then things seem to change with the economy big time. I had to ask myself, like, is it me? Is it the economy? Is this not the path that God wants me to travel down anymore? I feel like you'll know in your heart and your mind, right? That you'll know logically that things just kind of add up or either don't add up, right? And you'll know in your heart that it's maybe time to move on or to change. And that's hard because your pride gets in the way. Your pride says, no, I can't let this go because that means I'm a failure, or that I worked too hard and put too much into this to make a huge change. And that's exactly what God taught me in the last month. This is like hitting home so hard for me because I felt like I was a complete failure after years and years and years of amazing success. Everything just seemed to go out the window. And it was God's perfect timing to do that. He took my business to a point that it was okay to make a big shift. And that's exactly where I'm at right now, is I'm choosing not to believe that I'm a failure. I'm choosing not to, hear and listen to that inner dream stealer voice, but I get to see the new path that God is calling me on, which just lights me up like no other. The other side, I felt like I was kind of hitting a wall over and over and over again. I was spending hours and hours and hours on pouring into, my audience and my clients with new classes all the time and things that I just couldn't keep doing with a 6-month-old baby. And we tried 14 years to bring this baby into the world. So I wanted to make sure I could be there for him and the other places where God is calling me. And when I asked and I said, okay, I'm going to be really vulnerable, Lord, and I'm going to take inventory of what's working and what's truly not working in my business. And it was an ouch moment. I was doing a lot of things that were not actually helping me to share God's message with the world and to build my business. And so I stripped down, metaphorically, and I said, okay, this is what's working and this is what's not working. No matter how much I want to hold on to these things, what is the path you would have me be on? And surprisingly, he took me right back to network marketing.
Oh,
and not only that, but he showed me how I can take what I've already done and build it into network marketing and combine the two. And that was so powerful. And if I hadn't have gotten to the point where I felt like I was losing all my clients and spending, practically pulling out all my hair because I was spending all this time feeling like I was spinning my wheels. If I hadn't gotten to that point, I don't know if I would have had the vulnerable moment of stripping down everything and saying, okay, thy will be done, not mine.
Wow, that is so amazing. I really appreciate you, like you said, being vulnerable and sharing that, because I shared with you actually before, just this morning, before we started this interview, that I've had the same exact situation where I feel like I've hit a wall and I'm like, I don't have time to do everything that I've created for myself to do. And I really had to take a step back. And I thought that I was stripping down, and I just want to, put a plug for mentors and how amazing it is to have a coach help you through moments like this. Because I have one of my mentors is actually staying with me as a house guest for a couple of days. And I got to work with her for about 8 hours yesterday. It was like totally amazing. And she confirmed everything that I already knew, but I was not willing to take action on it because it's like you said, the ego was like, are you kidding? I'm just going to like delete like 6 years of all my work and my content. And are you kidding me? But I did it. And the only way that I could have done it was with that coach, basically confirming what I already knew and then kind of holding my hand through it, because it's like saying goodbye to a piece of yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It really is. And it's not just that. It's not just the ego of that, but it's also the ego of what are my people going to do? They've depended on me for this. They've relied on this. This is what they look to me for. But the reality is that there is a bigger way that God has to use us. And when we hit that wall and we know it's time to change, we're the ones who are going to pay the price if we don't take action and follow that path where God's leading us.
Yeah.
So,
and he will lead us
yes, definitely.
as we partner with him. He will lead us through the ouchy moments, right?
Absolutely.
And he will help us to overcome those inner dream stealer thoughts and those prideful thoughts. And he will make it so much better than we can possibly imagine.
For sure.
I have, I've just done this for so long, and it was just getting to the point where it was not as enjoyable as it was before. And I think that's a huge sign. That's a huge key to be able to, red flag to pay attention to. And it just takes that faith and that courage to say, okay, Lord, what is thy will instead of mine? And he'll make it so much better than we can possibly imagine.
Well, so what I'm hearing you say is, a lot of times we are forced into a change because, of a job loss, or because for whatever reason, there's like a forced change. But what we're talking about is just having an inner knowing, and making the change proactively, even though it's painful. Before we end, I'll give you a little minute to think about it while I'm sharing how to get in touch with you. If there were a piece of advice that you could give to someone, if it's someone who has just felt like they have been hitting that wall, or, kind of beating their head against the wall, and they're just not finding the success, or they're just, not feeling, or maybe they even feel like there's a different path, but they're afraid to take it. I'll just give you a minute to think about that. Just one final piece of advice before we end today. And while Elise is kind of contemplating her words of wisdom that she's going to be sharing, I just want to share how to get in touch with her. She has a website, divinelydrivenresults.com. And also she's given her email, which is Elise, ELISE, at divinelydrivenresults.com. And I know she's on social media, and I'm going to be putting that in the show notes as well. Elise has also offered a freebie that you can reach out to her for, called Brainstorming with God. It's a tool to brainstorm with God. And maybe I'll have you tell a little bit about that before you share your piece of advice. And the link to get that is on her website, divinelydrivenresults.com/ brainstorming tool. So it's really easy. And again, that's going to be in the show notes. So Elise, you want to tell us a little bit about the freebie, and then, or whichever order you'd like to. If you're ready to share your advice, go ahead with that. Or if you want to share the tool first.
Sounds good. Yep. So the tool is Brainstorming with God. And the thing is we come up against problems and challenges and questions every single day. So why not figure out a way that we can truly partner with God so that we don't feel alone? So this really simple tool, I think it's a 3-page PDF, will help you to be able to partner with God in everything that you're doing and find the answers that you're looking for. So you can absolutely find it on divinelydrivenresults.com/brainstorming tool, or I'd encourage you to join our Faithful Ladypreneurs Facebook group. And there, when you join the group, you'll get access to that tool right away. So Faithful Ladypreneurs Facebook group is probably the best way. And then that way you can come join our incredible community, advertise your business on Saturday's comment thread, and connect with other Christian women entrepreneurs. We even have free networking events there too.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. What's your last bit of advice for everyone?
My advice is do not give up on your goals and dreams. They may look different at different times in your life, right? God might pull you down a path that you're like, whoa, I never expected to be there. But follow your heart and partner with God in everything that you do. Ask and ye shall receive. And don't give up. You are closer than you think you are. I always think about that picture where the miner is like, he's got this huge path that he's made, and he is so exhausted and so tired, and he is ready to give up. And he is literally inches from gold. That's where you are at, my dear sisters. Everyone who's listening to this, you are inches from gold. It may not look like the gold that you had expected in the beginning, but you are inches from it. And God will guide you because he wants you to have abundance in everything that you're doing, even financial abundance.
Totally. I 100% agree. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Elise. This has been my pleasure to have you as a guest. And I know our listeners have lots of gold nuggets that they can take home with them. And thank you so much for being here. And to our listeners, I just encourage you to get inspired and live in your power. And we'll see you next time.